මස්සලමති කෝටුක එහෙන් නමවෙස් මේ මස්සල හල්ලු වෙගෙන එකන් කුරිය දාංජෙහෙනි දැන් අලුණ මෙන් එකම ගුලිගෙන් මේ වාහක මේ අලුණු ෆෝනුම් වාහක දක්කාලෑෆින් බොඩ්කාස්ටිං කෝපරේෂන් ගේ චෙයාමන් ඉබ්‍රාහිම් වර්මනික දැන් නවාෆින් අලුණ මෙන් කොම්මෙර කොස්ති වේ ෆුලුන් හොෂාලු වාෆිය ෆෝම් දක්කාචි හොෂාලු වාෆිය අලුණ මෙන් ලයිසන්ස් දෙගොත ෂේ මියෝතිය පබ්ලික් සර්විස් බොඩ්කාස්ට් එක ලයිසන්ස් දෙන්ජි අලුණ කොම්මෙර ගස් එදවිස් දානේ එහෙමම ෆෝමැලිටිස් ෆොරිහම කොල්ලවෑගෙන් බොඩ්කාස්ට් කරවවාෂේ දෙගන කවුණුමෙන් අලි වහිද දෙන්නවින් මේ කානුනේ ගොත්තු මිතන් හිඟන් ජෙහනි ටීමෝඩි සිංගන් ජෙහනි MBC ක ෆරාතුන්නේ එම MBC මිකම හවාලුවාන් එබජෙහෙ ඒ ප්‍රොසෙස් සවුණන් එබජෙහෙ වර බොඩ අවස් කරන් අලුමෙන් කොමිෂනර් ලාසිම් කරේ මිකන්ත බලහට්ටම් කෝඩ් මේ බලහට්ටන් එහෙමම අලුම වර කම්බඩුවා කමකේ මිහාර මිලිටරි බේ ෆුලු මිත ඇතේ තිබ්බවා ෆසියාසි බේ ෆුලු කොල මිතනුක තිබ්බවීම මිදනේ අලි වහිද ස්නයිපරයිස් අයන කරවා ෆොරි බේ ෆුලු මිතන් හිඟෙම දිය රාජ්‍ය ගඩු හවාල් කො ෆොරි මේ ඉබ්බයා එහෙම ඉබ්‍රාහිම් රෂීද් එහෙම දෙතම්බේ සම MBC හවාල් කරන් බජෙහෙ එහෙම ඒ ප්‍රොසෙස් අවස් කොල්ලන් ජෙහෙ දෙන් එකන්තවග හයිගතුක මෙහාර මොති කෝට් මරු හදාග මොති ඉස්තිනාෆ් මරු හදාග හයි කෝට්ක දැන් අවුල් මෙදු රයිස් ජුම්හුරියා බද්දල් කරා ගොත හැම ජෙහෙ මොති එකන්ත කෝටුන් අබර ගෙන්නවාෆා අවහ එකන් මේ හවාල් කරවවාෂ MBC ය ටීමෝඩි සදිව රාජ්‍යයක අඩු ඒරුන්නේ මේ අලුණ බේනුවා ගොත හිඟානි කානූනා එගොත රයිතුන් බේනුවා ගොත රයිතුන්ගේ පබ්ලික් සර්විස් බොඩ්කාස්ට් මේ ටීමෝඩි සදිව රාජ්‍යයක අඩු එහෙම එගොත හිඟුමට්ටක රයිස් ජුම්හුරියා සවල් ඉල්තිමාස් කුරුමට්ටක බද්දලු හැම ජී ෆොති මෙදු ගහවීර වගොත එක්ක එකන්ත අලුණ කුරිය දානේ එහෙම මිකන්ත අවස් කුරුම අලුණ මේ වර බොඩ කන්සර්න් වේ දැන කමි මරහදාගේ ටීමෝඩිස් හැම වර රංගලන් හිඟා ගානූනා ගවතක එගොත මේ code of conduct amuriha gota war boda balayagen tiya modi sadi haraje gado hingo marunu gede befuna iltimas kurin ei mevves kala siyasi nufuze neti viha minimum go ekanta daanje he algona abudus gowala waha ki benu waha ki e fursatu ges benu benu korawan ekanta korabashe den etanuga miyogutu hingawan ede befunu tibbe kan e algona libe war bodu fada aliwa heda kis broadcasting oda no be fole ibbe kisin oda no be fole wima e befunu kan me war rangala hingawan kamavs vidalu hema algona men commission ekama war bodu hingama jehe den MBC algona danwa fonnani awa license ede wadanna den form take se buri foreign jehe den ekanta tahama wima unwenna e me du kurevene hema e process idari gotun kuriya danakama me algona me malumat libeni
process again ki muddat naga
no alumen hama alumen na hame form te libege form te fura hama ko first minute tere gaunu kan kolla ne gato alu mihar usule goton hamori nimi fakuri gato alumen libenje he documents libuni alumen counter matin hawal kolle goton oti eke wes bodu masalenno alumen beno vihawa kam mi process hawal ko pada alumen ka manika dennevin awaha mi process sama fadi rajya gara TV modis hawal wadanna wate tibe fulun hingan je he ni raitu majlihum pass ko fe board eketi tibe fulun hinga ගෙන රයිතුන් බේනුවා ගොත මිනිවන් කමායක හැම ගොත පබ්ලික් සර්විස් බොඩ්කාස්ට් එකේ දවර අදා කරවවාෂ ඒ අරන් බේනුවේ මුල එකමකි අවස් කරවවාෂ ඒකන්ත මනික දාලේ බෝඩ් මීටින් එකේ මහරස් මින්නවි එමෙකන්ත අවස් කරම අවණෙන් හැම වානි ඉල්තිමාස් කොෆා
शाहिब हम आलमन लिबिफे वगत कोल वरकोड हातरे जहारन में हम इंग्लिश खबर में खंडालन से हेते वर बड़ शुक्रिया आएंगे तो तीसा को लवी मालूमात खोला दर में ना को ते कोले वगत करते अदे हमार में थी बेफना हिसाब देन कोरिया गेनस्तिन मन हम जे फमियोती हातरे जहायर इंग्लिश खबर हम कुड कुड वगत कोले तेरे खबर फेनिकेंदा
Islam Gina Meehunge Ithurun Islam Gina Meehunge Ithurun Umurah निगाशदा निजान दे मैं भी इस्लाम जीना गाँव मटका निगाशदा निजान दे निगाह मुगावे अजुम निगाह मुगावे भी निगाह मुगावे भी हिम्मताई हिम्मताई हिम्मत हक्कशाई उम्मत फिदा
මීමගේ වතොනේ දිවෙහිගේ බාර පස්සිලා
දිවෙහිගේ ගොයිෆොතා අකුරා සදාවතු මේ පුරාණී ෆකුරුගා दिवेहिगे हब्बुगा कुर्बाने दानने जान माला जुबा मैं भी इस्लाम दीना गाँव मटका निगाशदा निजान दे मैं भी इस्लाम दीना गाँव मटका निगाशदा निजान दे निगाह मुगावे अजुम निगाह मुगावे भी निगाह मुगावे में हिम्मत
Assalamualaikum, I'm Hamza Atif and welcome to the VTV's English News Bulletin. The headlines for today: the Vice President has been sworn in as President. Mohammad Nasheed has resigned from the presidency. Former President Gayoom welcomes Nasheed's resignation. The detained Criminal Court Chief Justice Abdullah Mohammed has been freed. The detailed news follows next. Back to the news. Vice President Dr. Mohammad Wahid Hassan Malik has been sworn in as President moments ago after Mohammad Nasheed's resignation. The Vice President was sworn in at a special ceremony held this afternoon following President Mohammad Nasheed's resignation about an hour earlier. Nasheed resigned after sustained protests against his rule, which was joined by the security forces last night until this morning. Dr. Mohammad Wahid Hassan Malik was a popular choice among the opposition to take over from Nasheed, who had received local and international condemnation for dictatorial and unconstitutional acts. Today's ceremony, where the Vice President was sworn into the presidency, was attended by members of Parliament, although only a single MP from the former ruling party was present. Mohammad Nasheed resigned from the presidency today after sustained protests against the former government by members of the public as well as the security forces. Nasheed's resignation was delivered at a press conference held at the president's office this afternoon. Surrounded by several members of his cabinet, Nasheed stated that he had decided to resign as he has come to the realization that his remaining as president would cause further unrest and conflict in the Maldives. He also stated that the only way he could remain in power was through the use of force and arms. Nasheed claimed that he resigned in order to prevent such a situation. The past few weeks saw several members of the public injured and detained at protests against the government. The Nasheed administration authorized the use of force against protesters, which led to the army and police deciding to rebel against the government. Nasheed's resignation came after the country came to a standstill when members of the police service refused to obey his illegal orders. Reportedly, the police were ordered to stand aside and allow anti-government protesters to be attacked by activists of the ruling Maldivian Democratic Party, as well as gangsters affiliated with the former ruling party. The police were later joined in protests against former President Nasheed by the soldiers of the Maldivian army. The announcement that Nasheed would resign was met with cheers from the thousands gathered at Republican Square. The jubilant crowd bowed to Allah in thanks for the unpopular former president's decision to step down following several days of civil unrest and instability. Celebrations are ongoing in the capital city of Male, with opposition supporters and members of the public expressing joy at the resignation of Nasheed, whose popularity had fallen since his election in 2008. Former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom has congratulated the Maldivian people for upholding the rule of law and welcomed the resignation of former President Nasheed. In a statement given by telephone to VTV, Gayoom thanked Allah for granting the Maldivians success in their efforts to uphold the constitution and rule of law in the Maldives. He described the resignation of Mohammad Nasheed from the presidency as a message that no one is above the law and that all who violate the law will be brought to justice. Qayyum also welcomed President Nasheed's decision to accept the public's calls to resign. Qayyum said he was grateful that Nasheed had realized, as that he had said in his resignation speech, that remaining in power would threaten the peace and stability of the Maldives. Noting that Dr. Mohammad Wahid Hassan Malik would soon be sworn in as president, Qayyum congratulated the former vice president and expressed his hope that the new president would handle his duties with respect for the national religion of Islam as well as the constitution. Criminal Court Chief Justice Abdullah Mohammed has been released from his illegal arrest and detention after the resignation of President Mohammad Nasheed. The Criminal Court Chief Justice returned after being detained for more than 20 days since the 16th of last month at the military training facility in the island of Kirifushi. Abdullah Mohammed was escorted back to Mali City on board a police vessel to the cheers of waiting crowds. Justice Abdullah Mohammed was at the center of the former Nasheed administration's descent into unconstitutional acts and dictatorial measures. The judge was arrested on the night of the 16th after he ordered the release of the opposition DQP's deputy chief, who was arrested without a warrant. Before his release from military custody today, Chief Justice Abdullah Mohammed's arrest has drawn criticism from the international community as well as state institutions in the Maldives. The United Nations Human Rights Council had demanded former President Nasheed to release the judge immediately, while the International Commission of Jurists had called the judge's arrest a classic case of a government arresting a judge for exercising his independence. And that's it for the news bulletin for now. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.
Islam Gina Meehunge Meehunge Islam Gina Aharah Jaluhukum Naannaanee Kithah